The lesson.
Oh, yeah.
Early 2000s is when I started catching on to hip hop coming out of Australia.
Yep.
First off, I think it was like Hoods and LC, Delta. And so I missed, all the 90s stuff. But when I talk about it with people, there's certain names that, tend to repeatedly come up. Fugelman and Finger Licking Good being one of them, or a couple of them.
We're back, baby.
That's
Right.
right.
We're back from the dead, man. Lazarus is back.
And, like a few other names, Certified Wise
Yep.
is probably one of the most prominent
Yep.
crews. They came out of not only SA, but,
And again,
some
did
would
great
say
things, man.
nationally. And also when I think, when you say Ranella and down south, I think of Delta.
And
Who
Delta's doing great
also,
things too, man.
who also went on to do
He's on
amazing
my
shit.
first solo album. I think that was his first actual recording, a song called Lyric Night, which people still talk about as being like, oh God, Lyric Night's amazing. I'm like, really?
Yeah, right. Because my question was, like, first of all, like, did you guys, being from down south, work on shit together?
Yeah, so
Obviously,
Madcap
you
and Delta
did.
were great friends, and we spent a lot of time together. So he's on my first. He used to get up all the jams and play, and so he's on my first solo thing called This Last Week Of. It's a song called Lyric Night.
Yeah,
It's
right.
still kind of. There's a lot of people I encounter, and they're like, "Oh my God, that song's still like really relevant and really pumping," because we're basically doing a song about jumping up and doing your thing on stage and whatever.
And so that was the only song that you guys would have done together, or you guys went on and worked on more shit?
No, so I was, by the just after my first solo one came out, I moved to Sydney. Fugelman stuff came out. We toured. We did all the shows, and then I began working on the Reference Point stuff, and we did an album called Save the World, which we got released on Pacifica Records, which was a disaster in terms of signing with the label. I've just got the rights back to it. You can get it online free now, thank you. And then then I did another solo album called Looking for Andrew Bradley, which was the title's taken from Looking for Alla Brandy, the movie. I just thought it'd be fun and cool. I wanted to be in like a Catholic school dress. There was school dress on the front, but I got warned off that. It's good advice, actually, thinking about it. But I remember, like, yes, we had. Am I moving around too much? Because I feel like I'm probably on my ADHD was high. So we had Save the World, Reference Point, and then we had Quro Looking for Andrew Bradley. And again, that was, I'd been working, by this point, it'd been like 6-7 years of working with Resin Dogs and Two Dogs and flying to Brisbane often and, supporting Beastie Boys on stage with the Resin Dogs and Blunted and, Lazy Grey on stage, like all these amazing guys, right? Bring me up to Brisbane, we play with these guys, River Stage in Brisbane before the Beastie Boys with the Resin Dogs. Me and Lazy Grey, killing it. The Beastie Boys just standing up being like, dang, what's this, Who the hell are these dudes? Again, it's a really interesting time, like the Resin Dogs guys had come down to Brisbane. We had a home studio. We then moved into a house which we were living in with Sloth, who's an amazing horn player who was in Metabase and Breath. And Sloth is still a great friend of mine today. I was at his place a couple of weeks ago and he's tracking on my new record. Again, like these linkages between people, like they're really strong, like I had some really bad moments last year personally. And I'm on a bus in Sydney having this call, which is the worst call you could ever have. And I look up and there's Kenny, Physical Linguistics from Metabase and Breath, who I used to live with, who I hadn't seen in 10 years. And he's like, hey, dude. And I'm like, oh, my God, dude, you don't know what's happening. And, that guy, I think, like, I had to clean up this house and move out of my family house in a matter of days. This brother of mine, man, he comes and he carries my stuff. He puts stuff in boxes. He drives me around, like, consoles me. And this is what I'm talking about, right? You don't forget this stuff, right? You don't forget these people. And I'll do the same. Pretty much everyone I've mentioned here, I'll do the same for any of these people. But, you have these moments where it's like, there's this thing about what we had, which was really, I don't know if it's the same now. I don't know. I'm just like, I've just risen from the dead. I don't know. Honestly don't know. People should watch out because the album's pretty hot. I honestly don't know if it's the same now, right? I don't think it probably is. But, like, there are people like, Mystery from Brethren, right? Who's a Christian minister. I'm not Christian. That dude would probably die in a ditch from me. Even though I haven't seen him in 5 years, right? Like, there's this thing about this camaraderie, it's just, it's really astonishing. And it exists to this day, My man Kenny finds me on a bus in tears, at the end of all this stuff going down. And he's like, dude, I'm going to come help you. Turns up the next day, and the next day, and the next day. And he rings me the next day, and he comes over, like, bang, bang, bang. And it's the same with all these guys, right? These are, we share these moments where the importance of them go way past music. Way past music. And like I said, pretty much everyone I've mentioned, with a couple of exceptions, I would die in a ditch for. Every time, anytime.
And then, so if you're looking at like the early 2000 period, I guess when I started to catch on, were you still based in Adelaide doing music then, or you were?
So we'd moved to Sydney, and so we'd start at Reference Point, which was Mostyn and myself. It was just the two of us. We're living in this crappy share house. Basically, we all had NPCs. We were, kind of trying to jam this. We had live players and stuff. But we tried to kind of do a bit of, again, just messing things up, right? Going to, we'd get booked for supports like, Black Alicious, Jurassic 5, and we'd go and do the support. And we'd do songs about kind of like, which were, kind of a bit of electro in them about, hey, boom, boom, kids, come on, whatever. And dudes were like, yeah, this is really weird. What are you guys doing? And again, it was the same thing. We were just trying to push, I think, subconsciously, because I don't think we, at the time, were thinking this is what we're doing. We're kind of like pushing dudes. And, there were writers like standing in this place saying, you can't do that. And now these same dudes, all these years later, are like, oh, I love that Reference Point thing, it's amazing, So we did Save the World, which was a full LP, with a very nasty song about Adelaide, which I apologise for. I'm trying to make amends for it on my new album, with the song Lady of Lovers Lanes. Saying I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. We left here when we just felt like we'd done our dash, right? Like I went to New York. I spent, weeks and weeks in New York and kind of, going to all these shows and whatever. You come back here and some dude's like, can you do a show for $100, all five of you? It's going to be amazing. And you're just like, yeah, really, dude? Like, I just won an MC battle, right, in New York. Right? Really? Am I that crap? And I just thought, big city of lights, Sydney, why wouldn't you go there and try and make your stuff happen there? I must have felt the same, and yeah.
So then I'm guessing, because my follow-up question was if you guys ever did any work with any of the certified guys, but now I'm sort of thinking around the time that they were formed as a crew, you guys were gone.
We were gone. So, it's Hilltop's doing their thing, and those guys doing their thing, and Simon.
Oh, Simplex?
Simplex, yeah.
So was there any collabs with, say, Terra Firma or the Hoods? No, because
we were gone, man. We were gone. We were focused on doing our stuff
even earlier before.
No, I mean, we were all hung out. We used to rap at
no
concert. There was no recordings, And again, keep in mind, like, we're recording Fugament album, recording solo album, where, Austin and I are working on this Reference Point stuff. There wasn't a lot of kind of headspace to be collabing with people at that point. And so then, at Sydney, big city of lights, chaos. None of us can afford anything. Living in inner city Sydney, you kind of be like, hey, this is really great. We came here and no one's going to pay us anything, And then we, you're doing a. I'm sure it happens here too, right? You're doing a support for, like a concert where there's 1,000 people there who've paid $50 each, and you've got 5 people on stage who are being paid $300, not each. You guys still got to pay the engineer. You're like, this is really great. We're really going to make it in this city. Like, seriously. And so so Reference Point. And then we put out a thing called Backwards Forwards, which is an EP. We've got I'm trying to think of what the song is. Backwards Forwards, obviously. Some great remixes on that, and then things kind of went quiet. Austin and I kind of got had to go and get jobs, basically. I'm kind of living in these share houses, crappy share houses. I went back and studied. I went to do a master's degree. And then I feel like Kevin, right? I'm asking my own questions. And then I got offered a job back here. So I got offered a job with the government here. So I started playing with Upshot there, which is a big live 7-piece jazz band, amazing musicians. So Sleeping Monk was the original rapper, and then I jumped in after Monk. We had songs with Earth Boy and all those dudes, and then I got offered a job here, and it was basically paying me, more than twice what I was making where I was. I was working for the government, like as an advisor, and I had this incredibly bizarre period where I was here a week, being a guy in a suit in the cabinet room with the Premier. And then I would fly back to Sydney and be on stage with Upshot rapping. And it was one of those moments of like, I still reflect on just think it was just so bizarre, right? I'd be like, hey, Premier, you should do this. And I'd be like, hey, So the Upshot thing was really great. I went on tour with them. And then the final thing I did was Goodnight Mr. Howard. So Moss and I did an EP called Goodnight Mr. Howard, which I still think our best work is on. The song It Might Be. And this was right before Howard got voted out. And we just did a song, an EP, which just said, you know what, mate? You're gone. Great artwork, great music, beautiful production by Mostyn. And I think some of my best lyrics. And that kind of brings me up to the point where I went into the cave, had babies, and disappeared.
The lesson. 927. Oh, yeah.